Even the storefronts will have a lot of information on each individual part and what they can do and what they can't do. Those two combined mainly helps you pick your parts and see what you can do. PC Part Picker is a really good site. Though that will tell you any part that you can buy at the time, as well as its compatibility. Because depending on what part you pick in the first place, will only list other parts that are also compatible with it. So it really helps avoiding mistakes. The first part you should buy should be the first part you can afford. There's a lot of different rules and tricks out there about how to distribute your budget for your computer. But the main thing is getting what you can afford. It doesn't necessarily have to be brand new. You can get used parts, sometimes even use entire computers, and just upgrade over time. Well, the pros of a pre-built, a lot of the time it takes out a lot of hassle. It takes out the time of needing to research by each individual part and put it together. And it also comes installed with a lot of programs and stuff that you'll need to get the computer up and going. So if it's really the quickest and easiest way to build a computer. But the cons is that it takes out the ability to learn how your computer works. So in the event of a problem or a really big problem that you can't really fix off the top of your head, knowing how the insides of the computer work can help you troubleshoot or help you or point you in the right direction of what part that might need to be replaced. The main difference is the specs between the two types of computers. A gaming computer will often primarily focus on the graphics card and the CPU, whereas the office computer will mainly focus on the RAM and sometimes the CPU. The things with office computers, their main thing is consistency and stability. With gaming computers, that is a big factor as well. But with gaming computers, they're more focused on performance because most, if not all, games require a separate GPU to actually process the graphics. 9 times out of 10, a gaming computer is gonna have a GPU while Office one will not. Yeah, a lot of people say rebuilding a gaming computer is that your GPU should be half the price of the entire computer compared to the rest of the parts. Not everyone follows that, but that's a rule that a lot of people follow in the community. You mean like the software side?
Yes.
I guess mainly the software side is seeing what you really can and can't do. Because with Windows, that's just the UI. That's another part of the program. Mainly with computers, especially back in the day, they were mainly command line based. So that was something like terminal in Linux or anything like or command prompt in Windows. You mainly operate a computer line by line with just a keyboard. So I guess mainly seeing what the UI really hides behind that kind of stuff and the features that you can really tinker with. I guess that's the really fun side. But besides that, it's really just seeing what other programs stuff out there that can make your computer really do anything you want it to do. There's programs for just about any purpose out there. A lot of schools, especially nowadays, teach people Windows growing up just to get them used to computers as they get into the job field. But a lot of jobs require Windows. But with Linux, because it's open source, meaning that not one specific company owns it, there's a lot of different kinds of versions of Linux out there with different UIs, which means it looks completely different. There's some versions of Linux that are based on Windows and some that are based on Mac OS, meaning that they look like one or the other. And there are some that don't have a UI at all, where it's straight command prompt, like I said earlier. My favorite part is, I guess, putting it together. Is the actual hardware side. I mainly work with hardware, especially with my other projects like robotics. So I guess the actual my favorite part of building the computer is the build itself. Gathering the hardware, doing the research, all that's fun too. But putting it together and having it run first try at the end of the build is really what makes me happy. Yeah, I definitely would say I game a lot. Not just the current stuff, also a lot of the old stuff. Growing up, I started with the GameCube, and since then I've been trying to collect consoles from most of the companies. It depends on the console really, but if I had to think of like a favorite game, it would be one of the first PC games I've ever played was Warframe. That was one of the games that really got me into PC gaming and actually building a PC in general, because that's what made me realize that not every computer game can run on every computer like how every console was. Usually when you buy a console, you're expected to know every game for that console works with it, But with a computer, there's a certain line of requirements that each computer must meet for that game. And because of that, that's what made me realize I need to do the research to see what I needed to play that game. I'd say a recent game was God of War, specifically the second one, the most recent remake, Ragnarok. That one was a really great combination of storytelling and gameplay. A lot of other games focus on one or the other, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just that God of War really stretched the line between a movie and a game. Uh, that's a tough one. I'd say my favorite console would be a handheld one. In this case, would be the 3DS. Mainly because not only was it a great leap of technology with a 3D screen not requiring any 3D glasses, even though a lot of people didn't like it, I personally liked it and it didn't really bother me. It also was one of the first portable consoles I ever owned. I owned the original DS Lite, which came out before it, but with the huge leap in technology the 3DS was, there was no way I had to have it. On top of that, it was compatible with all the previous games from the previous generation. It was mainly, I guess, my favorite device I've ever had. So I've modified every console from the GameCube generation up until PlayStation 4. So I have a collection of consoles upstairs that I either did a shell exchange where I've taken the parts or the internal parts from one and put it into a different shell to replicate a different color or a different variation of that console. Or I've done what's called a jailbreak where I've changed the software firmware into something that allows me to play on my backups of all my games. Because I have a digital backup of my game library. Recently, I did a shell exchange on the original Game Boy and the DS Lite. The shell for both of them were pretty much damaged. So to give them second lease of life, I took all their internal parts, put them in a new shell, and put them on display. So it depends on what I'm trying to make. Say for example, I'm trying to make something similar to like a Funko Pop or some other vinyl figure. Since I starts with an idea or a sketch, I also try to see if other people have already modeled the thing I wanted to make. Because a lot of times there are people who, particularly, are their profession is 3D modeling. So if I'm able to use either parts of their model or use their model in general, I download that, make sure it's printable on my resin 3D printer, and then once it all comes out, I have to make sure it's all clean, cured, sand. Then comes the painting and putting it together. So it's basically like making your own toys in a way, but you can make them to any size and shape as you want. So a lot of times if I'm working on a project, if I don't have time to go to the store, if I need a certain like measuring tool, like sometimes I needed a caliper, didn't have mine on me or mine was broken, I've had to make one on the fly. There's other times I have to use or make right angles, anything like that. Mainly like little functional tools that you normally would have on you, but if you forget, it's good to have a backup on you. I mainly work with two types of 3D modeling, or 3D printing, I mean. FDM and resin, or otherwise known as SLA. FDM is what you primarily think of 3D printing. It's a machine printing solid polymers like PLA, ABS, ASA, anything like that, line by line, layer by layer. That usually makes the functional parts or my bigger projects or that can't be made on a resin printer. The resin printer takes liquid resin and cures it into a solid. That's mainly used for detail, but it's not as structurally strong. I use SLA mainly for making my statues. That's a tough one. My main thing, I guess, is making statues, sometimes figures. There's a lot of talented people online who specialize in making that kind of stuff. They just may not print them themselves. So just finding anything online that looks cool or piques my interest. Mainly just doing the research is the fun part. I do. I mainly make statues for my friends based on commission. I have a lot of friends who are in the Warhammer and D&D. So both of those kind of games require a lot of miniature tabletop statues. I also make full scale, or not full scale, also make 1/6, 1/12, and 1/8 scale statues. Those range in size and price. I mainly work with the person to see what they want. I'd say the most important part is just to sit down and really try it. A lot of the programs out there do seem a bit, I guess, overcomplicated when you first open them. But if you don't want to start with I guess, the computer 3D modeling stuff, you can just pick up some Play-Doh, pick up some clay, start from there. 3D modeling isn't necessarily computer based, but you can always start somewhere.